Just sitting down, having a cup of coffee. Check out my cool mug. My son made this for me, like in grade school. I think it's awesome. A peacock mug, having a little coffee, thinking about the Packers. Maybe you're doing the same. Monday I did an out of breath arm sore Packer minute about the running back situation, and today Eddie Lacy is on my mind in particular. I posted that out-of-breath arm sore Packer minute talking about, what's up with Lacy, but then also the difference between how James Starks runs, how Crockett runs, and how Eddie Lacy runs. And David W., man, if you're out there, if you're listening, got to give David W. a shout-out, had a great comment talking about how he thinks that the power running, and I think it's very important, I think David definitely mentioned the power running game as possibly kind of passing away in the NFL, or that its days were numbered. But a great comment. If you want to check it out or have a response directly to David, just go to greenbaypackernation.com. Go to Monday's Out of Breath Arm Sore Packer Minute, the one that says before the Monday Night Football game, and you can check it out there. But that's a great question. It was a great comment, and there's a whole lot more. It was a very well-reasoned comment, and he had a lot of interesting things to say. I actually want to talk about a couple of those. But the first one is that power running game, and I do think the way the NFL is built now, it's definitely a pass-oriented, all the way the rules are going to protect the quarterback more, to protect the receivers more. Those teams that can pass the ball are probably going to be most successful. But running the ball, we've seen, is very important too, and having a balance makes a big difference for the passing game. But how about the power run? Personally, I don't know that the power running game it has disappeared or is going to disappear. I think teams, because of the salary cap structure, kind of have to choose whether they can run the ball well or pass the ball well. It's really tough for them to be very, very good at both. But I do see David's point, because you look at teams like Seattle up until just the last few games. You look at a team like the Minnesota Vikings. When you take away the run, those teams can't win games. Now, you might argue, and I would agree, Adrian Peterson is more than just a power running back. They have more than just a power running game. So again, there's the nuance there. How do you define a power running game? But Marshawn Lynch you would think of as a power running back, an Eddie Lacy style power running back. And when you stopped Marshawn Lynch, you could stop the Seattle Seahawks until Russell Wilson got in sync with his receivers. Man, my nose is really itching. Russell Wilson got in sync with his receivers, and now he's on fire. And once again, that team looks really unstoppable. But they still have a run game as a balance. That's an extremely dangerous team. Now, for me, let me preface this. I don't think there's anybody out there that would not love to see Eddie Lacy get back to the 100-yard power punishing runner that he can be, that we know he can be. I don't think David W. would be like, no, I don't want to see him out there. I think we all would love to see him return to form. In fact, David, I think, mentioned how much he likes the guy. His son, I think his son's name's Jason, I guess, flew over from Australia, and Lacy, and maybe it was Burnett, hung out with him for a while. And so he's like, I really love the guy. But I think, his time may be, limited with this offense. So, anyway, December at Lambeau, the power running game could really give this offense a boost and help the passing game get in sync with Aaron Rodgers. Now, again, I'm going to go back to what David said, and even the technology. Now, if you said December in Lambeau, the elements are a factor. This is an outdoor game. However, the power running game, the elements would really affect a power running game and require a power running game if the field was still frozen. If the field gets frozen, boy, that power running game where there isn't a lot of shiftiness, it's more north and south, becomes extremely important, almost crucial to success in outdoor fields in bad weather. However, even at Lambeau in the cold, the field still isn't frozen anymore. So technology, I think, David may be right. Technology is making it possible, for teams that have niftier running backs, that have a more sort of slashing style of running put your foot in the ground, but still are making cuts and don't have to necessarily. They're a more patient running game where they can break out, look for the hole, and then cut through it. That's still possible, even in the worst weather, even at Lambeau Field. So, but again, it would be great to see Eddie Lacy in the cold weather at Lambeau Field be able to just go up, just hit those A-gaps again and again and punish some people. And then play action off that and catch out of the backfield. I mean, there's just so much you can do. So I agree that it's very possible that the power running game's days are numbered in a sense. And you look at it, if you want to ask that question, you really have to ask yourself, what happens to the fullback position? I mean, the disappearance almost of the fullback is really an indicator that the power running game is kind of getting passé in today's NFL. I love that the Packers still highlight it because there's some creativity that comes involved, because as positions and or styles of play get phased out of the NFL, those teams that can come in and sneak some plays under the door, those almost become unscouted looks because defenses aren't really prepared for them. So there's room for creativity, and I think Mike McCarthy is willing to think outside of the box from time to time. I like some of the sets that we've had recently in the running game, and now if we can get Ty Montgomery back, you have some interesting things going on. But again, that is moving away from just a straight power running game. So one of the things that David mentioned was how he really is pulling for Eddie Lacy. Thinks he's a nice guy. I think we all do. I'm the same way. I really like the guy. I like his attitude. He seems to like to smile. At the same time, we've noticed with him getting benched, and in particular in the Detroit game, that he missed a curfew. He was with a guy that got cut. These are red flags. I'm not going to speculate on what's going on, and I love the way Mike McCarthy has handled it. He said Eddie Lacy looks good. When you have to sort of punish a guy, and I guess it's a sort of disciplinary measure. When you have to do that, I think the best thing you can do is look the guy in the eye and say, listen, this had to happen. It's gone now. That's water under the bridge. There are no fumbles. There are no miscues. There are no missed curfews from this moment forward. It's an absolutely clean slate. That's all over and done. I think that's what Eddie Lacy is. I think that's what McCarthy has. I think that's the way he's approached it. I think Eddie Lacy can accept that, and I'm really expecting Eddie Lacy to kind of have a breakout game. So to see him get 100 yards, boy, against the Cowboys, this is a good opportunity, and it might be a chance for our whole offense to sort of get back in sync. That's what I think Eddie Lacy can do for us, is with his power, with his punishing running game. With the one requirement that I love about a power running game is that it requires teams to stack the box. If you've got to get 9 guys, say, in the box and you can't drop people out into coverage, that makes, in particular, the Packers team extremely dangerous. So I would love to see Eddie Lacy have a 100-yard game or a 100-yard game against the Cowboys coming back on Sunday. But what do you think? What do you think about the power running game? What do you think about Eddie Lacy? I mean, are you with me? You love the guy, but some things have to change. His performance has just been. It's been back and forth, I guess. And with the offensive line in shambles, maybe that's had as much to do with his 5-carry, 4-yard game that he had at Detroit. Obviously it all starts up front. But what do you think? Are you in Eddie Lacy's corner, looking for him to come back strong? Are you thinking he's put on weight? There are some negatives. There are some red flags. He's put on weight. He's been late for curfew. He's already had to be benched once for performance. All 3 of those things do not bode well for running back in the NFL. They can change your career very quickly, especially with the missed curfew and, the kind of things, what was he up to? All the questions that kind of linger. But what are your thoughts? Is he going to come back with a vengeance? Are we going to move on? Is maybe John Crockett going to show what he can do? These are all questions that are going to need to be answered quickly. It's December, and it's Lambeau Field, and it's time to get this offense together. We don't have any more time for miscues, bad performances, and punitive benchings. So let me know what your thoughts are. Check us out at GreenBayPackerNation.com. Be sure and comment on the Facebook fan page and let me know what your thoughts are. We will talk to you again soon. Probably Prediction Friday coming up here soon, and also with another Atrium coming up with JR and I talking about the Packers. So have a great Wednesday, and I will see you again soon. Go Pack.